Hey my friends, welcome back to a new video. Today we'll be talking about ending negative cycles you may find yourself in. So if this kind of topic resonates with you, hit the like button before we start. That's how you let me know that you find great value in it, and it helps to bring this message to more people that need to hear it. So thank you so much for that. And before we start, I want to read a message I wrote today for our Instagram community, and it goes like this. The negative cycles you may find yourself in can be broken by being patient with yourself, while you're devoted to the teachings of timeless wisdom that are applied daily in your life. Have the courage to keep breaking old routines with freshly acquired intuitive insights and wisdom that presents itself as lessons from your daily challenges. It's an offering to step out of samsara with embodied devotion to the truth. This is far from an easy task, but unlocks blissful experiences and fluid miracles that will support your growth and evolution. So I will explain to you the concept of samsara, and we'll talk more about what it all means, because we may all find ourselves in negative cycles here and there, and samsara is an ancient Indian concept of cyclical movement between life and death that often includes repetitive suffering caused by ignorance or the failure to learn from past experiences. And then after we die, we come back and we experience same suffering until we change something, and that's called the law of karma. So karma makes sure that we get results for what we did. And then karma is teaching us, if we want to experience greater results, we have to make great changes in our lives. We need to become greater, and greater means more connected with ourselves, more loving towards ourselves, so our actions can actually reflect that. It means that you learn to organize your mind, to declutter your mind, to purify your mind, because on the world there's a lot of negativity, and you need to make sure that you're not contributing to it. You need to make sure that what you give out is something greater than what you've received. That's alchemy. So to end any negative cycle you may find yourself in, it may be related to finances, it may be related to your relationships, it may be related to how you're treating yourself when you find yourself being alone. Whatever it is, it all comes firstly to a fundamental relationship you have towards yourself. And that fundamental relationship is actually a skill you've acquired from people around you when you were a little kid. You became really good at whatever was surrounding you. So we were all born pure, like pure little kids. We've been all born like that. And then we've started noticing how people around us are behaving, thinking, talking, feeling, and so on. And if we haven't seen anything greater than that, if we were never introduced to something greater than that, to see that actually life can be also different than what we've seen in these childhood experiences, we become really good at whatever our parents were good at. However they are behaving, or they were behaving, however they were expressing themselves. So we've kind of mastered this whatever state we may find ourselves in now. And that started the cycle of life, the samsara. But then through this life's journey, at some point we recognize, well, there are things I want to change. I want to make more money, I want to make better relationships, and we start applying certain changes, like working harder maybe, or getting ourselves into more communities to meet more people. And because we think that we are not enough, or we think that our value will not be appreciated, we may start faking certain persona just to be liked by others, and there we start another cycle of another suffering, like being somebody you're not just to be appreciated or just to be validated or just to be accepted or approved or whatever, and you start another cycle. So to break any kind of a negative cycle, you firstly need to recognize what started it, where it started. So it all leads us into a deep reflection, and reflection will reveal to you these intuitive insights that I mentioned in this introduction message. But also wisdom will be revealed there, because wisdom is like a lesson from a painful experience, or a lesson from a mistake, or a lesson from something we thought it is right, but it was actually hurtful for someone or painful for yourself. Wisdom is that insight. But the real wisdom is only revealed once we apply the insight in our lives. You recognize, well, playing a certain persona doesn't work for me because it is exhausting. So therefore, I will show up more as I truly am. I will express what I truly think. I will follow my deepest calling and desires. I will put myself into this path where I will clarify what kind of life I want to live, what are my personal standards, and where I see myself in the future. Like what kind of skills I really want to devote myself into. And what are these timeless teachings that can help me to improve this character? Because it's not like saying, oh, I will become authentic and then you suddenly become it. You have so many wired patterns in your brain to be like you were before that it's not just saying you will change and you change. It's like you have to have certain principles in your life, certain virtues in your life that will help you to stay true to who you truly are. It's like breaking old habits of your personality, and that is a deep work of transformation. But on the other side, you've come here to master this work of transformation, because once you master yourself, you can master anything else. Everything else becomes a game. Once you learn to master yourself, and it's like consistently getting better and better at how you're treating yourself, at how you're spending your days, and how you're treating your impulses and your emotions. You can start looking at your emotions as something like, let's say, undeveloped child that can be drawn into everything that is interesting. That's how our emotional system works. It reacts to any thought. And when our thoughts are more negative, we will feel more negatively. When our thoughts are more meaningful and insightful and are all about something that truly awakens passion within ourselves, we will feel more passionate and enthusiastic. So mind is really a garden, and emotions are then the byproduct of the, let's say, happening in the garden. And when it comes to cycles, then it comes to what we are doing on consistent basis, what we are devoted to the most, right? Anything we're doing consistently eventually becomes easier. So for many people, they've mastered suffering. Many people have mastered anger and judging and complaining and worrying and so on. Not because they were born like that, but because they were trained to be like that. If you're surrounded with people who are constantly gossiping, you will be gossiping. You will be judging yourself. You will be thinking negatively and complaining about yourself. And when you will meet those people, you will know exactly what to talk about. Talk about gossiping. Talk about what negative aspects that person is embodying, and so on and so on. But then changing that for mastering, let's say, joy, for mastering passion, for mastering your creative expression, you need to find yourself being indulged into certain teachings and wisdom and insights that can help you to become that, right? So you need to upgrade your knowledge, your capacity of greater knowing around the possibilities, how to be this kind of a version of yourself, right? So that's where you start ending a certain negative cycle and you start more positive one. But it doesn't mean it will be an easy work. It's sometimes a heavy work because again we are working against the old programs, and a lot more effort is required because our brain is striving towards using the least energy. And same will happen with the positive actions and cycles once we start devoting more of our time into the positive direction. But we need to recognize this pattern of building a path, paving a path, which means that you learn to organize your mind. You stop consistently feeding yourself with just whatever comes across your awareness, like scrolling on TikTok and finding these 20-second long videos and so on. You may think, well, I'm just, spending my free time, but what you're doing, you're feeding your mind with so much of these short impulses that are toxic for your brain, and on long term, it is decreasing your attention span. So it's just keeping you in this matrix system where your attention span is not needed, and you become much better servant to it if you actually don't know how to use your mind, how to think freely for yourself, and to step outside of this negative cyclical motion. You need to learn to use your mind more constructively. You need to learn to organize your thoughts so you can organize your actions, so you can become more aware of your impulses and recognize that not all impulses are constructive. And when you experience these destructive impulses, like a certain attraction towards something toxic, you can recognize, well, it's my old self calling me back into these old cycles. And before I respond to it, I can wait and see where it is leading me. It's like seeing this law of karma, the law of cause and effect, where it will lead me if I do that. And sometimes you can do it to reassure to you what happens after that. And sometimes you need to repeat it to train yourself to see how bad it affects you. Only to remember the wisdom of it, which is usually pain. So pain is necessary often, and it's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to be afraid of going into negative cycles or going into something that is toxic for you. It's just going there for learning. And that's how I've learned to overcome many of my bad addictions and bad habits. I've consciously went back into it. Like, for example, as a little kid, my grandmother was feeding me with sugar all the time, candy all the time. That was her way to to buy me, to invite me to her to talk about things with a bunch of sugar. So that's why I love to came visit her, because I always knew I will get a great dose of sugar. As a little kid, I had no other knowledge around that. And because of that, when I was growing up, I became addicted to sugar. Like, I could eat too much of it easily. But then I've started noticing, well, it's not good for me. So how to quit that? Firstly, I decided for myself with my great determination, I will just cut sugar, I will not eat it anymore. And for a year and some months, I was not eating any sugar. But then I've noticed that I still have this trigger around sugar. Like every time I'm thinking about it, I still feel kind of drawn to it, but at the same time I'm afraid, because if I will eat it, I will start eating it again, and it will, you know, draw me back into this old habit. So I've noticed, well, what if I do it consciously, like meditation, where you expose yourself to a certain trigger and you don't need to react to it, you just observe yourself, how you respond to it, how your body responds to it. So I've started practicing a little bit, like eating a piece of a chocolate or, you know, a little bit more of it, and noticing how my body responds to it. Will I start craving it? And what are those cravings? Where in my body those cravings are coming from? Are they bad? Are they good? Are they drawing me to eat more of it? So I've started observing my body, and isn't it a meditation in our daily lives? Noticing that we start doing things consciously, and then we notice where it is leading us. It's nothing wrong if I eat a piece of chocolate, but if I eat a whole chocolate uncontrollably, it means I'm lacking a lot of awareness in a certain part of myself. So that's how I've kind of healed this, let's say, wound with addiction to sugar. Now I can easily eat a piece of it without eating too much of it, because I've learned to control myself. I've learned to build awareness around it. But it doesn't mean that it's easy. But it's necessary, because whatever else becomes addictive to us. All the chemistry, like anger is addictive, sadness is addictive, depression is addictive. It's all chemistry in the body. Adrenaline, extreme sports, it's quite addictive. I'm coming from extreme sports. I know how bad it feels like when your day in the sport is not going the way you planned it. It can destroy your whole day, saying, well, today I had this bad day at training or at competition. So it's all addictive. But training ourselves to look at this addiction as undeveloped part of myself. Like if you have something with drugs, well, I would not prefer to do that. But I think that it's not just drugs that's the problem, but everything: social media, negative thinking, complaining, gossiping, all of that is toxic, and all of this is an addiction. So if we want to break these old cycles, it's not just to start something new and then avoiding these old things. I think the shadow work is all about building awareness around what is toxic for us. And then slowly, step by step, we train ourselves just to slowly noticing how much it affects us negatively. So it's not the reason that we start doing something greater because we're avoiding something worse. It's because we recognize that when we do something bad, it has bad effects on our bodies. That's why we stop doing it, because we appreciate and we love our bodies to such a degree that we want to give ourselves what they deserve, which is love, which is care, which is compassion, which is healthy nutrition, which is celebration and gratitude, and a great amount of reverence for its complexity. Isn't it so? And to get to that point, we need to have a great understanding of ourselves. And understanding is not born in one day. It's about devotion. It's truly about devotion to timeless wisdom that can be taught to us through many ancient traditions, many ancient teachings. And when we find something that resonates with us, like to me, I found great value in teachings of, let's say, Tibetan Buddhist traditions. I found great value there. And I found great value in ancient Greek philosophy, for example. And before that, I found great value in some genuine spirituality. And as we are evolving, our understanding seeks for evolution. So this genuine teachings of spirituality brought me deeper into its sources, where these teachings are coming from, like ancient Egypt, ancient Buddhism and Indian traditions and so on, right? So eventually we are coming deeper into the source of knowledge until we recognize that the all source of knowledge is actually within ourselves. And that's where we really start to know what the word meditation truly means. So it's all a journey, and we're all just learning to become more familiar with all of that. But it helped me. This whole process helped me to end negative cycles in my life, and this constant chasing and constant complaining and sabotaging and being too hard on myself and so on. And my life, because of that, became really blissful. I still have certain struggles here and there, but I know how to respond to them. I know that my life is supporting me every time I am on the side of truth. Every time I want to discover the source of any kind of pain or suffering, only so I can let's say overgrow it, so I can become wiser around it, so I can embody more of this purity and what I experience in inner quietness, so I can embody more of it in my daily life. And for that, we have to have certain principles, like following wisdom, being courageous, knowing that it's okay to break certain habitual patterns and start new ones, knowing that without perseverance, most probably we'll not get to where we want to be, and knowing that sometimes it gets hard because we're stepping into unfamiliar territory, because we're starting something unknown and we don't have the right skills yet and the right knowledge yet, but we are willing to learn. And learning often happens through pain, through certain breakdowns. If we are not wise enough to learn from internal intuitive insights, we'll learn through pain, and we need to know that it's all okay, and everything is completely okay as long as we start judging it as something bad. So it's just a reminder that positive cycles are not or shouldn't happen because we want to avoid negative ones. It's because we understand where negative ones are leading us and we don't want to go there. So we rather choose something better. We rather choose something wiser for ourselves. So when you're dealing with loneliness, for example, or certain breakdowns, know that this loneliness is teaching you something. And know that you're only experiencing it because you're attached to something that is not present anymore, to something that will not bring you fulfillment. And you need to recognize what you're attached to. Are you still attached to a person that left you? Are you still attached to someone who transcendent, who is not here yet? If you would speak to the soul of that person would say to you, hey, I want you to love your life. I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to focus on everything you always wanted to do. Learn to heal this, whatever is giving you a need to be attached to whatever is gone. Because you're being attached to an illusion. It's not there anymore. And you just need to wake up to a level of understanding that the only thing you should really focus on is something that gives you a sense of fulfillment. And whatever gives you a sense of fulfillment will give you a great sense of growth. And growth leads to inspiration, leads to passion for living. And passion for living leads to need for creating. And need for creating leads to motivation to take action. And motivation to take action will charge you with this life force that will inspire you to be more of yourself, more of who you truly are. Not your identity, but that force that moves through you. And this is, I can tell you, it's a really creative force that will completely transform your life when you start using it, expressing it. So my friends, I hope this video helped you in any way. And I want to send you lots of love, blessings, and gratitude. To anyone who would love to support my art, you can find the link in the description of this video to our Etsy store, I Draw My Passion. Go there, check it out. You can find lots of my art there. And till next time, one love.